Hey everyone, Richard Metalfan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2017 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the band Trivium entitled The Sin in a Sentence, which came out today through Roadrunner Records. Now, everybody should probably have heard of Trivium by now already. They're a heavy metal band based out of Orlando, Florida. They've been around since 1999. And these guys have been one of my favorite bands since high school. I remember first hearing about them back in I think 08 or so. Probably it was around the time after The Crusade came out and before Shogun did. And I checked them out and I was pretty impressed. And I first saw these guys back in 2009 when they were opening up for Slipknot. And they've become one of my favorite bands ever. I've seen them live 5 times and I enjoyed everything these guys have put out. And this album, the new album, The Sin in a Sentence, is the follow-up to 2015's Silence in the Snow, which I thought was a pretty solid album. It's pretty decent. But to ask this question, does this album live up or exceed expectations than what Silence in the Snow did in 2015? In my honest opinion, I think it definitely has. I think I love this album a lot more than this album. It's pretty much everything is stepped up tenfold. And honestly, I think this album is pretty much the best thing Trivium has done since probably Shogun, which almost came out 10 years ago, which is kind of crazy. The production on this album is really good. Everything is where it needs to be. And let's talk about the vocal work. I mean, Matt Heafy's vocals sound better than ever. I mean, whether his clean vocals, I think has gotten better. They've improved a lot since the previous album, Silence in the Snow. They've gotten so much better. But he puts so much emotion into his vocals. It just sounds really great, and that actually marks the return of his harsh vocals, and his harsh vocals have gotten better since, well, in 2014 he blew out his voice from doing an incorrect technique, but then he sort of relearned a new technique and it sounds just as good as the old technique that he'd been doing, from his screams from similar to stuff from Ascendancy and Shogun. And the guitar work from Heafy and lead guitarist Corey Bolio is really good. Their guitar work is just really great. Just the leads and stuff is pretty solid. The bass is pretty audible. I mean, Paulo Gregoletto's bass is pretty damn well heard in the mix. And the drumming from their new drummer, Alex Bent. This is the Trivium's 5th drummer. I mean, they go through so many drummers, but my God, Alex Bent is a fucking machine. If you don't know, he used to play. This is the first album with him on drums. He replaced Matt Madero, who played on Silence in the Snow, and in between that, they got Paul Wanacke to play with them throughout late 2015, throughout most of 2016. And of course, he was known for the former drummer for Battlecross, and he also played in Brain Drill. And my God, his drumming is just insane. I think he's the best drummer Trivium has since probably Nick Augusto or even the original drummer Travis Smith. He just does a really great job on the drums on this album. But without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, the album opens up with the title track, The Sin in a Sentence, which is the first single I heard off this album. I mean, when I first heard the teases, I mean, Trivium were kind of teasing. It was similar to the previous album, Silence in the Snow, where they sort of did a countdown and teasing and stuff, where they just didn't announce that they were making an album. They just took you by surprise. And when I first heard this single, I was really blown away. I mean, this is like I said, I think the best thing they've done in almost a decade. The best since Shogun, and it sort of marks the return of Matt Heafy's harsh vocals, and my God, this song is just monstrous. It's 6 minutes long, a really great introduction to this album. One of the best, my favorite songs on this album. And then we go into Beyond Oblivion, which has some very fantastic drumming from Alex, and just full-on energy and aggression. It sort of making up for a good song in a live setting. Great track. Then we go into Other Worlds, which feels kind of a more powerful and heavy counterpart to a song similar from the previous album, Silence in the Snow. It's a good song nonetheless. The Heart from Your Hate, which is the second single off this album, it's a decent song. I mean, it has a build up near the intro. It's sort of heavy drums and a thundering bass, and then it goes into a clean guitars with some clean vocals. Kind of goes from the sort of the heavy chugging and clean vocals. It's kind of a weird song, but it's an okay song. I like it. And then we go into Betrayer, which has Matt Heafy bellowing Betrayer. So a really good guitar solo and sort of some thrashy brutality mix, and this is really good. And then we go into The Wretchedness Inside, which is a very interesting song. And the reason I say interesting is this song was written back in like 2014 by Matt Heafy for another side project, but that didn't somehow fell through. And then they actually decided to re-record this for this album. It has some very grooving guitars and just a really good tough riffs and some good grunts from Matt. Um, Endless Night, which is, I mean, this song is okay. Sever the Hand, which this song is pretty interesting. I should say, it has like a number of different tempo changes, and initially it starts off with like kind of like almost kind of like a sturdy rock song. It has like a solid pace with some really good solo guitars and some good clean vocals. Beauty and the Sorrow, which this song kind of like took is a surprising song to me. It sort of like faked me out a little bit with like kind of like a grungy sounding like intro before it explodes into some insane like tremolo, low picking guitars and some fast double bass section. It's just like one of the most surprising songs on here. And then we go into the Revanchist. Forgive me if I butchered that title, which is the longest song on here. It's a little over 7 minutes long. A lot of like technical work, but I feel like the solos, like, well, those solos are good, but I feel like they kind of like drag out a little bit too long. I mean, that's just my little nitpick. Still a kick-ass song, by the way. And then the album closes with Thrown Into the Fire, which is an aggressive way to end this album, which sort of like brings out all the hard elements of the band. And it also has a really good bass solo intro. I think this is the first time Trivium has a bass solo since probably Vengeance Falls. Forget the name of the song. But yeah. Now, overall, The Sin in the Sentence is a pretty good album from Trivium. Another good addition to their discography. If I have to give this album a score, I'd probably give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's a pretty good album. I would highly recommend getting this album if you're a fan of this band. But yeah, that's my review of the new Trivium, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video, and keep it metal.